That's been my this mantra. It's in you. It's not like somebody else has to come and do it. How can you be energy efficient? How can you manufacture this super efficient appliances?
So, folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. Folks, we are joined by Sudha Shetty. She's a repeat guest on our platform. Earlier, we have hosted her on TGV Kannada, and she is an international consultant and executive coach specializing in clean energy and sustainability. And as the founder of Meliora, she empowers individuals and organizations through her Change Framework, CHANGE framework, to drive climate action and personal development. And with nearly 25 years of leadership experience, Sudha's expertise in energy efficiency and sustainable practices is helping shape a better and a greener future. And as we prepare to delve into our conversation on an important topic at hand, empowering change, transforming lives, and saving our planet, here is an exciting twist as always. Let us tickle our guest's brain. So, Sudha, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few and I would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. If you're ready, let's get started.
Sounds good, Naveen. Go ahead.
I love the spirit. Let's move forward. And here comes my first word. Curiosity.
See and do.
Invention.
iPhone.
Future.
Sustainable.
Efficiency.
Have to do it.
Conservation.
Should be a practice.
Recycling.
Should be a part of life.
Ecosystem.
Or balance.
Climate.
Climate should be like pleasant, livable.
Energy.
Efficiency.
Resilience.
Growth.
Green.
Life.
And here comes the last word. Biodiversity.
Balance. We're all interconnected.
Amazing. Amazing.
That was fun.
Those were spot on responses, and thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round so sportively. And there is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. And before I formally welcome you to the show, let me thank Kavita Garla for connecting us. Kavita, thank you so much for connecting us with amazing Sudha Shetty, and it really means a lot. You have been a great source of inspiration for TGV audience by connecting us with amazing leaders like Sudha. And let's get the ball rolling. And Sudha, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Naveen? Thank you for inviting me, and I will thank Kavita personally too.
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. And it's a pleasure to have you as a guest on our English platform too. And Sudha, let's get the ball rolling, and we'll start with your success mantra. As in, please share with our audience the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
It's my passion, my determination, and my persistence. That's been my mantra. Passionate about doing something and doing it well. And determination, one, I say that I'm going to do it, I will do it. And persistence, I don't give up. I don't leave any stone unturned.
I love it. So crisp and clear. Okay. Let's move forward. And I'm really curious to understand what inspired you to focus on this sustainability and lead the efforts in saving the planet.
Would you believe if I say, Naveen, it was an accident? It was not like I grew up saying I had to do something in the sustainability space or anything. I went to school in the US, and I returned to India, and I set up my boutique consulting firm. And again, I was on a visit to the US, and I was meeting this friend who was working for an American non-profit for lunch. He was in my school, and he said, come over to my office. This was in Washington, D.C. And then he introduced me to his boss and his other colleagues, and they were like, we would like to work in India. Can you help us on energy efficiency? I was like, sure, but I don't know what is energy efficiency. I came back quickly, and I had a business partner at that time, and both of us went to a CII conference, picked up all the jargon, and there's no looking back. 25 years, and I've been entrenched in this field, and it's feel good work. I feel good that I'm contributing my drop to make the world a better place.
No, that's amazing. In fact, you have gotten into this field before even it has become the mainstream 25 years
Yes.
ago, right? Because right now we are in the world where ESG is no longer a nice to have, but it's a must have. And with the policies like CSRD getting firmer in European Union and all, and even India is also all set to embrace this green stuff in terms of all the initiatives which are aimed at protecting our Mother Earth. And kudos to you, because not many people are keen to get into this field, wherein we are always focused on something else. And very few people, in fact, I have interviewed only a handful of people on these topics on the platform so far, and I see that there is a passion and a drive right from inside. That is what is keeping you guys moving forward, and I'm glad you're doing what you're passionate about it. And let's move forward and talk about your CHANGE change framework. So can you elaborate on what this CHANGE?
Right,
Yeah.
right. I want to give a quick little background of
Yeah.
why I came up with this change framework.
Yeah.
And that's because, like I've said, that I've been in this space of non-profits and energy efficiency, clean energy and energy access and everything for the last 25 years. But because of my own personal issues that I'd gone through, which again dates back to about 25 years ago, I had gathered courage from self-help books those days, right? And this was the early days of internet, so nothing was really, that well entrenched or something like that. And then during the pandemic, I said, what is that I want to do? I said, I want to help transform people. That's when I came out with the change framework, because it applies for both our fight against climate change and for bringing in change in people, right?
Yeah.
So for climate change, I call it as the change framework is create awareness, because you need to create awareness about, why we have to fight climate change, because, it's still not widely understood that this is what affects all of us. It's not just you or the third house or the next city, but it's every single person and our future generation. So you've got to create awareness. You have to harness your internal strength. You should have the conviction, I want to do something about fighting this climate change, right? So you're going to harness your internal thing. You alter your behavior. Something that you were doing, you're not going to do. Probably a simple thing like leaving your plug, in the socket when you're not charging your mobile. Pull it out. That also sucks energy. Take that out. So it's altering your behavior, and then you are navigating the obstacle. It's your usual way of doing, right? You have to work hard to remove that plug, to switch off the TV when you're not using it, right? So these are you have to navigate your obstacles of something that you were used to doing before, but you're changing. And then you grow resilient, right? Start working hard at it, and you know that you can build that habit, and you bring in different results. You're saving energy. Maybe it's the fraction of rupees that's reduced in your electricity bill, but you've done something good, right? But it could be about conserving water. So that is the change framework for the environmental work. So to repeat it clearly, create awareness, harness your inner strength, alter behavior, navigate obstacles, and grow resilience and elevate the results. That's for the climate aspect. The same change can be applied to people also.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
When there is a problem, what is happening is you are in despair. It could be a personal problem, health problem, professional problem, financial problem, whatever it is. When you have a problem, you are in despair. So what you need to do, you have to choose hope and then act, right? You have to choose hope, act, then nurture your growth, right? And generate energy. All this is to create awareness, change your mindset, bring in different results, through your altered behavior. That's the change framework.
Amazing. So I think single framework to address both the problems. One is on the sustainability part, and another one is developing oneself. And one thing what resonated well with me is you mentioned about unplugging the cards that we use for connecting our television or something. In fact, recently we have done an episode, not just an episode, but a series on sustainability on TGV Hindi. And one of them was related to electricity, wherein I started sharing some tips to all our audience. So especially like those who are using laptops, right? One thing what I have observed, a common trend is people tend to charge their laptops all the way and use them just like how they are connecting to a desktop. But the laptop can be used like mobile phone, wherein you charge it to 100% and then unplug that charger, and you can use it until the battery is up to 5% or up to 10%, and again you can charge, right? Likewise, there are some small things which will help us save a lot of electricity. Of course, money comes secondary, but one small change, okay, which is a kind of drop in an ocean, right? If all of us do it, right, many drops will lead to a bigger portion within the.
Absolutely. And another thing, how many of us tend to leave our taps open when we're brushing our teeth? The water's running, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Just switch it off. You don't need it, right?
And also we touched upon this usage of bathtubs and jacuzzis, right? That they consume
Yes.
more than 400 liters
Yes.
per
Yeah.
single usage. And imagine that 380 to 400 liters is an average household consumption in rural area, right? So that is how it
Absolutely,
is.
absolutely, yeah. So, in fact, like, I just recently come across a case study where in a hotel, I think in one of the Nordic countries, I think it's Sweden, they put like a sand clock in the bath saying, can you finish your shower within that, So that way, our bucket and our mug are very sustainable for conserving water, because you can say, I'll only use whatever quantity in the bucket. That's much less liters than, the water flowing through the shower heads,
Right.
or like, using a bathtub or a jacuzzi.
Glad that you mentioned about it. And yeah, in fact, having a sand clock kind of thing is a great idea. Like, people are coming up with some innovative ideas, and especially in the European countries, I've seen, since we have explored this sustainability part, even when it comes to sustainable transportation, sustainability with regard to water recycling and all, they are far, far ahead of where we are today, right? So we as a country, we need to start embracing those kind of best practices and probably encourage youngsters to come up with some innovative ideas in terms of how can we save this planet, not for just the next 10 generations, but next 100 generations, right? Because if at all same thing is going to repeat, we'll not have this earth anymore.
Exactly. And you know what interesting it is, Naveen? Have you heard of LIFE that India launched at COP26? It's called Lifestyle for Environment. And they have like about 75 actions
Okay.
everyone, can do. This is like a global thing that India initiated, global campaign. But I think many of us don't have any knowledge about that.
I think, yeah, we need to use this kind of opportunity to really spread the message and spread the awareness, because every act, no matter how big or small, right, it leads to a positive change. And if all of us think for the benefit of the planet, then our future generations will also enjoy all the resources just like we are doing it. And we cannot be selfish anymore. So those are my 2 cents. And with that, Sudha, let's move forward. How can these principles of the change framework be applied to address both the personal and systematic challenges in the fight against the climate change?
Good question, Naveen. And it's both interconnected, right? Both have limited time. We as a human have limited number of years on this earth. And if we don't fight climate change, Earth is going to have serious problems, So many islands and so many cities will get submerged if the temperature goes beyond that 1.5 degrees increase, right?
Yeah.
So it is important that everyone takes action, It's in you. It's not like somebody else has to come and do it. When it rains and our drains are clogged in the cities, we blame the municipal corporation saying, oh, they didn't do it. But how many of us may have thrown a chips packet there, or like a biscuit cover there, or, you're traveling in a car, just roll down the window, throw it out, or like, you're eating a chocolate and just unwrap it and put it. What's clogging all those,
Good behavior.
It's not the municipality that's clogging, right? Us,
Yeah.
The other day I did a podcast for school kids from Delhi, Indian kids. And they were like so impressed, they said like, I told them like simple things. I said like, when you're riding on a scooter with your parents next time, tell them to, switch off the vehicle at a signal if it's a wrong signal.
Right.
Than idling the bike. I said, suppose you want to buy a lamp for your house, help mommy and papa to buy a LED lamp, and change the fans. If you're changing a fan, ask them to look for BLDC fans, So it's all about us, and that is the change framework. We have to take control of our actions, our thinking, our words, and our way of doing to bring in different results. It's not that somebody else's work. Generally, in India especially, we tend to leave, or we want to build financial wealth to leave as property for our generations to come, right? But why don't we leave a cleaner environment? They're going to thank you more for that than, the money that you need for that.
No, I love the thought process. In fact, it is a high time, as I said earlier, it is high time. And also one other aspect with regard to some of the tips, right? You mentioned, why don't you turn off your vehicle engine when you are at a signal? I think that's a great idea, right? In fact, I have been practicing that for quite a long time. And apart from that, when it comes to air conditioners as well, right? People tend to turn on the air conditioners throughout the day or throughout the night, and they set the lowest possible temperature, like if it is 18 degrees Celsius or 16 degrees Celsius, right? And they tend to cover themselves with a thick rug or something of that sort. Why do we do that, right? Why don't we use it only for 1 hour or 2 hours and then set the temperature to normal? So likewise, there are some minor behavioral adjustments which can really contribute for a positive thing, right?
There are also standards for that. The minimum temperature you set is at 24 degrees. And then, turn on your fan. It circulates the air. There's this misconception, you can't use air conditioning and fan together.
Yeah.
But you should, and it covers. And I remember those days, Orchid Hotel in Mumbai, it was one of the eco hotels. First, I'm talking about almost 20 years ago. They had this building management system in their room. They had a button. They said, if you are supporting the eco energy thing, press this button. When you did, the temperature automatically went up by 1 degree, but the hotel could save a lot of money and conserve energy.
Right.
Simple practices.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, and let's move forward to my next one. So, Sudha, what are some effective strategies for individuals and organizations to enhance their energy efficiency and reduce their carbon footprint? Of course, you have been talking a few tips from the personal perspective, right? And also you quoted one example related to hotel. Likewise, are there anything else which you would like to call out?
Absolutely. I think for organizations, if we talk about, they could get an energy audit done to understand what kind of energy usage is going on, right? And that energy audit will give them a clear picture saying this is where your energy is leaking, you're consuming more, your appliances is old or it's not efficient. You could, if you make these changes, and those changes could be the low-hanging fruits, which could be your O&Ms, operations and maintenance of the system and the way you operate it and things like that. And then you could go into the ones that require the capex. But all these, don't look at the initial cost, look at the life cycle cost of those appliances or whatever you are going to use, right? They will pay you back. Your energy bill will be a witness to that.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of these companies called energy service companies that can come. They will invest on your behalf and they'll take the savings from your electricity bill that's saved that amount. From that energy savings, they take their money back.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, what happens with all these compliances and everything in place, only they do as much as needed.
Right.
There are only some organizations who are really committed, right? But many of the smaller ones and SMEs, they don't think it's their problem, right? But if everybody does, we'll have a different environment. We protect our ozone layer, we protect our mother earth.
Actually, it reminded me of one of the tips which I shared in the pep talk that I had with Payal Mittal, one of my co-hosts on Hindi platform. So, not just the organizations can do this energy audit, even individuals like us also can do the energy audit, not by measuring the amount of electricity consumed by each of those devices. That is a little difficult, but at least start monitoring our power bill, right? The electricity bill on a monthly basis. And if we can reduce it by month, 100 rupees per month, right? If we can start doing that, I think that will make a huge difference. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if I can share an instance from my life, right? I am in an independent house which is 52 years old now, but 2 years ago I renovated it. I kept the outer walls intact. It's an independent home in Bangalore in one of the old suburbs. It's just a 30-60 site and it's 3-floor building. I kept the walls intact, but I made cosmetic changes, but put in good insulation, good window glass that only allows the light to come in, not so much of heat. I have a solar chimney. I have all energy efficient appliances, and I'm doing rainwater harvesting. All my motors and pumps are all energy efficient. Everything, So you can do it once you have the awareness. I have a solar chimney that takes out the passive cooling way of taking out the heat and bringing in cool air. I have cool roof. I have a little garden, very little. I only have 2 feet on one side and maybe 5 feet on the other side. A tiny little garden, plants and everything. So you can create your own ecosystem. I have a rooftop solar. I generate 1/3 of my electricity for my home and that. So everybody can do it. It's just about getting that awareness,
Right.
Like for example, I just want to mention the case of BLDC fans, right? These are brushless motor DC fans, and they operate at half the electricity of a normal fan, and they save your electricity bill also by 50%. You're more rare, they're more silent. So when you're going to buy a fan, instead of saying, let me buy this 1,500 ordinary fan, you can say, okay, I'll pay 2,500 and get this, but my electricity bill for the fan is becoming half.
It makes sense, and so far we have been sharing a lot of tips, which our audience or our community members can start implementing. But now I would like to understand a curious part of this particular conversation in terms of what are the biggest obstacles people face when trying to adapt these sustainable practices, and how do you think they can overcome them?
Two things, right? One is they think it's very expensive, and what value does it have, because they don't pursue. And energy efficiency is kind of invisible, right? They look at the same air conditioner, same fan, same light, but they don't know what the difference is. So that's the awareness part. So I always say go beyond the initial cost. And you know the importance of the star rating that the Bureau of Energy Efficiency does, right?
Yeah.
More stars, the product is going to consume less energy.
Right.
And every year BE is working with the industry to ratchet up the standards to go up. So what was 3-star last year could become a 2-star this year, and next year it could be 1-star, because every time they're improving. And this is because, Naveen, like in India, if you look at just air conditioners, right, maybe only about 10% of the population has it. As more and more people move to the urban areas, as there is more and more aspiration to buy, just think of the impact of more people buying air conditioners on the electricity generation, the carbon emissions, everything. So there's more and more emphasis on, how can you be energy efficient? How can you manufacture these super efficient appliances, the low energy consuming appliances? How can you design and build your homes, offices, so that, it brings the natural air and reduces dependency on a lot of appliances. So there's a lot that's going on. Again, it's just the awareness. It's not there. It's not enough. But if you do it, you do it.
So Sudha, now let's talk about shifting the mindset of individuals and businesses to prioritize long-term environmental benefits over the short-term goals.
Yeah, like I said, everyone has to be conscious that what each and every action of theirs is doing something. So what I would say is, I'm not asking everyone to do everything on the sustainability front. That's going to take a long time. But start small. Start small. What is that you could do? What is that you could do to sensitize your employees in your organization? You as an organization may be energy efficient and sustainable and everything, but have you checked what your people do once they go back home? And educate the children. They are the best ambassadors for sustainability. They are the ones who can stand up and question the adults and bring in change in their behavior.
I love that thought. I think we need to have a separate subject in the school. Though there is a subject on environment, I think more on the sustainable part in terms of there is a concept in Japan called Kaizen, right, which stands for change for good, small improvements which lead to bigger impact and all, right? So those kind of small things, if they can be taught in the school, I think they are going to make a lot of difference. And with that, let's move to the next question. This is more around a success story which you would like to share with our audience, where your coaching or consulting has significantly influenced a project or an organization's approach to sustainability.
You will be surprised when I tell you it's your PGV Kannada podcast. I cannot tell you the number of people that called me and said, oh my God, this is so informative. I didn't know any of these things. I will start practicing these changes,
Yeah.
Because the organizations that I work with are already in this space. It will be preaching to the choir.
Right.
But there it's empowering the people to transform their personal, and professional lives. But here, creating awareness amongst just the common man, right? That is what is required. So many of them got back to me and said, I said, it was fantastic. We never knew all this. Like even this thing about the Har Ghar Pe Solar, there is this program. You can put a rooftop solar and you get some subsidies from the government. They were not even aware of that.
Wonderful. So at least we started having these kind of conversations, and I'm sure people that are listening to this episode will take those tiny little actions, okay, for the benefit of the planet and help the future generations enjoy the natural resources just like we are doing. And Sudha, after that amazing conversation, it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode, which we are ready. I'll kick off the second rapid fire round with a set of three questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, comes the first bullet out of second rapid fire round. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
I'd say just be aware and do it.
Just be aware and do it, okay? And what is your favorite sustainable practice?
My sustainable practice is carrying my bottle of water with me when I go, so that I hate these plastic bottles. Only if push comes to shove do I use them, but otherwise I carry my own bottle.
Good one. And what is the most impactful climate action you have seen recently?
By me or everybody else?
Everybody else.
I think the awareness that's coming in that they have to do it. We are all experiencing this severe heat and unfamiliar weather patterns, and people are acting. They know that they have to do something about it.
And name a misconception about energy efficiency.
Doesn't do anything.
And one personal habit you have changed for the environment.
Yeah, like I said, using all appliances that are energy efficient.
Okay. And a dream project for a sustainable future, assuming you have no limit on the funding.
Creating awareness, on a massive scale, so that we are absolutely able to arrest the temperature growth at 1.5 degrees.
And what is your favorite clean energy technology?
My favorite clean energy technology is all the appliances that use less energy, especially the air conditioners.
And can you describe yourself in just one word?
Persistent.
Okay, comes the last bullet. One thing people can do today to help the planet.
Conserve water.
Love it. And thank you for participating in the second rapid fire round as well. And let's flip back to the mainstream. So Sudha, what advice would you give to someone just starting their journey towards a more sustainable lifestyle?
See, what are the actions you could do? Refuse single-use plastic, conserve water, don't waste water. Start practicing small energy efficiency measures at home, as we talked about, taking it out, the sockets are energy vampires. They're sucking energy from your plug when you just leave it on. You could do that, small things. And when you're buying an appliance, look for star rating if there is, how much energy it's going to conserve. Fuel efficiency, buy vehicles that are more fuel efficient, don't litter. So there are so many small actions you could do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And if you have any closing thoughts in terms of how people can reach out to you, you can feel free to share with our audience.
I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And people can reach out to me on my email, sudha@meliora.in. That is sudha@melyoura.in. I look forward to connecting with people and see how I can support them in their journey towards sustainability.
Absolutely. So folks, you will also find Sudha's LinkedIn profile and her company website link in the show notes or the episode description. So feel free to send her a connection invite and engage in some conversations which will help save the planet. And Sudha, I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. All the tips that you have shared are invaluable. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining me today. And how is your experience being hosted on TJV, The Guiding Voice?
Thank you, Naveen. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. I see this as my way of creating awareness also. It's not about me talking on a podcast, but helping people understand that they have the power to bring in the change that they want.
Amazing. So thank you so much and looking forward to engage in many more conversations in future, Sudha, and I wish you and your team at Meliora all the best in everything that you guys do, and really appreciate all the work that you have been doing.
Thank you, Naveen. I wish you the same.
Thank you so much. And friends, that was our episode with Sudha Shetty, founder of Meliora. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. In case if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, The Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now let's talk about And today's trivia is about some lesser known facts about the origins and history of solar power. First is about early theoretical work. The concept of harnessing solar energy dates back to the 19th century. And French scientist Augustin Mouchard developed an early solar collector in the 1860s, and his work laid the groundwork for later solar technologies. Second is about first solar cell. The first practical photovoltaic PV cell was created by American physicist Charles Fritz in 1883, and Fritz used selenium coated with a thin layer of gold to produce a cell with a conversion efficiency of just 1%. And third fact is about solar power in space. The idea of using solar power for space missions began in the mid 20th century. And the first practical use of solar panels in space was on the Vanguard 1 satellite, launched by the United States in 1958. And this satellite was the first to use solar panels to generate electricity in space. So that's it from my side from the trivia perspective. And likewise, if you have any tips related to how to protect the Mother Earth and how can we live a sustainable life, do let me know in the form of comments if you are watching this episode on YouTube, or if you have found the episode on social media, you can comment there as well. So folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much and love you all. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Goodbye for now.